Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Sakurai, and thank you to all of you for coming tonight. And welcome to Explore Okinawa, Art, Culture, and Cuisine from the Ryukyu Islands. As Mr. Sakurai said, I am Susan Hamaker, and I'm honored to be moderating today's talk. Today, we will begin hearing from Takao Kadekaru, Senior Executive Director of Okinawa Convention and Visitors Bureau, Hiroko Shou, Professor Emeritus of the University of the Ryukyus, and Okinawan textile artist Hiroshi Jashiki. Takao Kadekaru will start our program off today by giving an overview of Okinawan history and local culture. He began his training at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1993 and has worked in many capacities throughout his decades-long career as the Okinawa representative in Singapore, in the Commerce and Labor Policy Division, as a counselor at the Okinawa Prefectural Base, and in the Sports Tourism Division. He now serves as the Executive Director of the Okinawa Convention and Visitors Bureau. Please welcome Mr. Takao Kadekaru to the podium.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to be here tonight. I had heard that New York is a very cold place, but it's actually really nice weather outside. Maybe we brought some of the warm weather with us from Okinawa. My name is Takao Kadekaru from the Okinawa Convention and Visitors Bureau. My mission is to tell the people of the world about the wonderful allure of Okinawa and to welcome people from around the world with our spirit of hospitality or omotenashi. So what is Okinawa like? Let me give you a simple overview. This is the Japanese archipelago, and around here is the Okinawa Islands. And this is Okinawa Island, the main island. From Okinawa to New York via Tokyo, it took approximately 16 hours to get here. Okinawa Prefecture is located east of the Asian continent at the southwesternmost point of the Japanese archipelago. The population of Okinawa is approximately 1.4 million people, and the prefecture consists of 160 islands, big and small, spread across 1,000 kilometers east to west and 400 kilometers north to south. Okinawa Prefecture is blessed with warm weather, enjoying the only subtropical climate in Japan. The average temperature throughout the year is 71.6 degrees, and the average level of humidity is 77%. Approximately 2/3 of the year is summer in Okinawa, where the climate is high in both temperature and humidity. In our seas are schools of tropical fish among the beautiful coral reefs, and in our forest are species that are rare worldwide. When we draw a circle with a radius of 2,500 kilometers, with Okinawa Island at the core, we have Japan's Hokkaido to the north and the Korean Peninsula. To the west, we have China. And to the south, from Taiwan to Vietnam and Thailand, we have various Southeast Asian countries. Due to such geographical features, Okinawa has promoted exchange with numerous regions since long ago. I would now like to give you an introduction to the historical background which nurtured the unique culture of Okinawa. Up until around the 14th century, leaders from various parts of Okinawa were involved in numerous struggles for power. In 1429, a man named Shohashi united Okinawa, founding the Ryukyu Kingdom. By the way, Dr. Hiroko Shou, who will be on stage here later, is a member of the royal family. Ryukyu Kingdom prospered through trade with the surrounding nations, but in 1609, the kingdom was placed under the control of Japan. In this way, the people of Ryukyu created their own unique culture through absorbing cultural and other influences from Japan during the Edo period, on top of the cultural influences already gained through China and the Southeast Asian countries, and entered the golden age of Ryukyuan culture. The first American to officially visit the Ryukyu kingdom was Commodore Matthew Perry. 2 months before Commodore Perry visited Japan to negotiate the opening of its doors in 1853, he had visited Okinawa. In 1879, after 450 years, the Ryukyu dynasty came to a close, and a new chapter began when the kingdom became Okinawa, one of the prefectures of Japan. Later, Okinawa was a stage of a fierce battle during the Pacific War, which engulfed the local residents and left the island in ruins. After the war, Okinawa was under the administrative control of the US, but was reverted back to Japan in 1972, which brings us to the present day. Today, Okinawa is known as a tropical resort destination, welcoming approximately 7 million visitors a year from abroad and within Japan. This is Shujo Castle. The castle, located atop a hill in the southern region of Okinawa Island, was the heart of the Ryukyu kingdom. This was where the king resided, and it was the center of the kingdom's politics, diplomacy, and culture. At the center is the Seiden, or the main structure, said to be the largest wooden structure in Okinawa. The structure is adorned with decorations of brilliant colors created by the best craftsmen of Ryukyuan architecture, which tells the tales of history and the culture of the Ryukyu dynasty era. The castle was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in year 2000. During the period of the Ryukyu dynasty, the king's government put great emphasis on the development of the arts and saw the blooming of court culture in performance arts, music, and more. In addition, the learning of the culture of martial arts was encouraged among the warrior class. Furthermore, Okinawa has a diversity of traditional crafts, including the dyes of bingata and bashofu, as well as lacquers and ceramics. Many of these arts were created through the exchange with China and Japan during the Ryukyu dynasty period. And with their influences, a unique world of beautiful arts was founded. There are many traditional cultures that have been passed on to the present day from the time of the Ryukyu kingdom. But today, I'd like to introduce two of these, karate and bingata. Some of you may recall this mega hit movie, The Karate Kid, from 1984. This movie was a trigger for people in America and around the world to take interest in karate. As a matter of fact, Okinawa is the birthplace of karate, a martial art, with about 100 million practitioners worldwide. It is said that the original form of the karate was developed during the Ryukyu dynasty period. One of the main characters in the movie, The Karate Kid, was Miyagi Sensei. He was modeled after the Okinawan karate master Chojun Miyagi, who was a main figure in the world of Okinawa karate in the last half of the 19th century. He founded the School of Goju-ryu, of which, on a personal note, I was a student also, and received my black belt. Thank you very much. Just still beginner. A workshop and seminar will be held on November 7 on the Okinawa Karate. At a workshop held on November 8, we will have the participant experience the attractive world of bingata, one of the most known traditional crafts of Okinawa. The bin in bingata addresses colors in general, and the gata points to the various patterns. As you can see, the colorful designs and the patterns of the blue seas and the skies, the changing colors of the clouds, the flowers and the vegetation in the bingata are all inspired by the beautiful nature found in Okinawa. Designer Mr. Hiroshi Jashiki, who will be introduced to the stage later to deliver his talk, has long been based in New York and continues to allure the world with his work. And the other theme is Okinawa's longevity and food culture. For many years, Okinawa has been known around the world to be a region where people enjoy long, healthy lives like this. It is said that one of the factors to this longevity is Okinawa's food culture. Tonight, we'd like to welcome Dr. Hiroko Shou, an expert in the field of food and nutrition, to deliver her speech. Moreover, as a reception following this event, we welcome you to actually taste some of these Okinawan dishes for yourselves. We hope you will enjoy it. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Hiroko Shou. As Mr. Kadekaru mentioned earlier, I specialize in nutrition. How I came to develop interest and to dedicate my time to work in the field of nutrition all began 63 years ago in 1952 when I came to study in America as an international student. I left Okinawa by ship via Yokohama and Wake Island. I arrived in San Francisco. It took 16 days at that time, but now, this time, it takes only 16 hours by plane from Okinawa to New York via Narita Airport. How times have changed. Okinawa is a region well known for longevity of its people. It is said that there are 5 main reasons for this longevity. First, natural geographical environment. Second, Okinawan religious practice of ancestors worship. And third, spirit of the Okinawan people. Life is a treasure. Fourth, longevity food culture based on the concept from Chinese herbal medicine, food as medicine. Finally, characteristics of Okinawans' relaxed daily life. Various factors came into play in the formation of Okinawa's food culture. These factors include the unique geographical condition of Okinawa and the historical background in which Okinawa developed ties with China and various Asian countries. First of all, I would like to talk about the Chinese influence on traditional Okinawan dishes. At that time, mainland Japanese did not eat beef or pork. On the other hand, in Okinawa, we have been using every single part of the pigs for hundreds of years. While being influenced by Chinese cooking, Okinawa's unique longevity food is becoming increasingly widespread and is becoming more and more common on our tables. Longevity food is food that helps helps us maintain further improvement our health. In Okinawa, we think of food as medicine, which comes from ancient Chinese culture. Incidentally, in the Western culture, you also have the expression, you are what you eat. Among the longevity food, there are major ingredients that the people of Okinawa have actively used in their cooking. These are pork, vegetables, and seaweed. I'll talk to you now about the first ingredient, pork. It may seem surprising that pork is used as an ingredient for longevity because the consumption of blood is widely known to be cause of high fat in the blood. However, Okinawa's pork dishes are receiving attention from both within Japan and abroad for the method of cooking and the skilled techniques in using various cuts of the pork. It has been proven through a cooking experiment that we can cut approximately 30% of the unsaturated fatty acid and fat by boiling the pork rump in large amount of water. The second ingredient is the seaweed. Compared to time past, Japanese food is more popular than ever in America. However, it still hasn't become customary to eat seaweed on a daily basis. This may be due to people thinking that seaweed is just that weeds from the sea. I hope that after today, you will refer to them as sea vegetables and not weeds, and enjoy them. Next, I'd like to talk about some of the physiological function of sea vegetables. First, their antibiotic effects, as you can see on the slide. Next, they are said to help prevent the reduce tumors. They also have marine therapeutic effect, and they help to lower blood pressure. Lastly, sea vegetables have a cholesterol lowering effect. These are numerous types of sea vegetables that are beneficial for the body, and one of those in mozuku. Okinawa produces 90% of the mozuku in Japan. I hope that you will remember mozuku, one of the specialty food produced of Okinawa. Mozuku has a health effect such as those mentioned earlier, but it is also getting attention for fukoidan, which is the chief component of mozuku. Fukoidan is a dietary fiber largely contained in the viscous substances of brown algae such as kombu, wakame, and mozuku seaweeds. In the research that I have conducted over many years, the function of fukoidan from the mozuku in particular has been shown have anti-cancer effect. For tonight's tasting, we have prepared a dish using mozuku. Some of you may be trying it for the first time. I hope you will look forward to it. The third ingredient is green and yellow vegetables. Through experimentation with rats, it has been confirmed that the figures for HDL cholesterol, which prevents hardening of arteries, increase with high fiber, dark green vegetables, and goya, bitter melon, yomogi, magud, and tsurumurasaki or marbar spinach, and unripened fruits such as papayas. I'll now summarize what I have presented so far. In order for Okinawa Prefecture to regain and maintain its status as one of the world top locations for leading a healthy, happy, and long life, it will be necessary for our citizens to remember to eat more green vegetables, consume more vegetation from the sea, increase dietary fiber intake, decrease daily consumption of fatty acid, avoid overeating. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk about traditional crafts in Okinawa. Traditional crafts in Okinawa and bingata. I start with a little bit of my story here. This is me. Look at the hair, you know. What happened to it? It's me. Anyway, speaking of food, I start with another food-related story. It is because it has to do with food, and it is one of my important periods of my life. It was the day I left Okinawa, a sunny morning in September 1981. Though my plan was to get master's degree in US and then return to teach at Ryukyu University after my teacher, Shizuko Oshiro, retired. My plan, however, had changed quickly after finishing the MFA program at Cranbrook Academy of Art. I decided to stay in US a bit longer to study English more and get some work experience. I moved to New York and started working as a textile designer. But that comes later. Let's go back to the story of my last day in Okinawa. My mind was so unsettled that morning, overwhelmed by the emotion of fear. My mother cooked a deep-fried red snapper, that's it, and for my breakfast that morning. Usually, we do not eat fried fish in the morning. Eat the fish, son. The fish name means auspicious. Snapper in Japanese is tai, in shortened medetai, auspicious in English. You must eat it, my mother said. I was barely holding myself from breaking down and forgetting about the whole plan. I was painfully shy and introverted. How would a person like me survive in US? I couldn't even speak English. I had no appetite at all, but forced myself to eat. I ate the fish and then left the house with one-way tickets to Michigan in my backpack and got onto that airplane. If I had not gone through with it that morning, I would not be standing here today. Everybody should experience a day like that. It will change your life. In the Cranbrook Academy of Art, Michigan, and the New York fashion industry also changed my life. They did not care where I'm from. I was just one of a bunch of foreigners. I was placed at the start line, like 100-meter race, with all the other students and professionals wherever I went. Michigan, New York, Hong Kong, Paris, and Milan. I experienced all kinds of discrimination and hardships. What made me prevail through those tough times? It is my artistic talent and my professionalism in the field. You have to work extra hard, not just to be equal to Americans, but to exceed. That is it. That's simple. My work still continues here, and I did some public space pieces here. Okay. Then I move to next. Okinawan traditional crafts, textile, and bingata. As Mr. Kadekaru mentioned earlier, the Ryukyu kingdom's big trade era started in the late 14th century. With influences of other Asian countries, the basis of unique Okinawan traditional crafts were formed. Textiles such as bingata I just showed, and then kasuri, this is the kasuri, ceramics, and lacquerware, etc. Each craft has its own developmental story. Today, I'm here to talk about Okinawan textile and focus on bingata. Okinawan textile have not only influenced by nearby Asian country, but also by the mainland Japan, Nihon. The Satsuma clan, which controlled Kagoshima Prefecture and some of the Miyazaki Prefecture area, took over Okinawa by force in the 17th century. Satsuma imposed a new tax called Jintozei, means head tax. Jintozei were paid by textiles, especially woven textiles. Ryukyu Kingdom's textile designer designed a pattern, this is it, with the detailed specification and sent them to various islands of Ryukyu to weave. Although it was very hard labor, especially for the women of islands, out of necessity, a distinctive Okinawan woven textile reached its peak during the time. That's the actual woven piece. And then bingata. Bingata, on the other hand, has a different history. When the original techniques and exotic dyes were introduced to Okinawa during the big trade era, those kimono made of bingata were used only for the royal family and high-ranked clans as ceremonial attire and performance costumes. Bingata also was used to make stage backdrops. This is understandable, knowing the characteristic of bingata, bright and bold. Bingata also being influenced by Japanese dye textile after Satsuma took over, especially during the Edo period. There are many similarities in techniques and patterns between bingata and kyoryuzen. Bingata was precious to royal families, so the bingata houses were given special treatment during the kingdom era. For example, most of the bingata dye houses were placed in Shuri, near a king's castle. In the Okinawan bingata history, there were two major setbacks. The first was when the Ryukyu kingdom fell during the Meiji era, and the second time was right after Second World War. The latter actually was the hardest time for everyone in Okinawa. 1/3 of Okinawans died and turned the island into ashes. 20th century also brought major changes in a way that the big wave of Western culture pushed away kimono culture throughout Japan. There are important individuals in each field of traditional arts and craft of Okinawa. One, a prominent one in bingata, was Eiki Shiroma. This is he. His house is still one of the well-known bingata houses in Shuri. Shiroma picked up the pieces. I went too fast. Anyway, Shiroma picked up the pieces from war-torn Okinawa and they started rebuilding the bingata crafts. Rebuilding Okinawa was tough enough, and the people had to worry about filling many basic priorities just to survive. But those resilient individuals of Okinawan craft community, including my teacher, Shizuko Oshiro, were the people we should never forget. and then colors of Okinawa. What is the colors of Okinawa? That was a question somebody asked when I had a meeting with the Okinawa Prefecture government staff for this event back in Okinawa 2 months ago. The first thing that comes to people's mind usually is the natural habitat of Okinawa. The sun, the blue sky, the emerald and turquoise-colored sea, the clouds and sunrise, sunset, flowers and vegetation, insects, etc. The correct answer actually is the light, natural light of Okinawa. Under the light, Okinawan light, everything has distinct color. Another factor is the contrast of the light and shadow. They are quite sharp because of the strong UV light. You do not even notice the mid-hues. There's an interesting fact concerning colors in Okinawa. In Okinawan dialect, the color names are quite simple. Aka, red spectrum, and Oru, blue and green spectrum, and Chiru, yellow spectrum, and Kuru, black, and Shiru, white. Those 5 colors cover almost all the colors of Okinawa. It is better to say that Okinawan colors are simple rather than saying they are bright. It's a huge difference compared to mainland Japan and New York here, where their color palette consists colors of millions of mid-hues. Here, it seems like light passes through filters that soften it. Of course, other factors like seasonal changes influences the color as well. We have only 2 seasons in Okinawa, long hot summer and short warm winter. And then lastly, the resilience of Okinawan people is something to talk about, including those craftswomen and men before me. This is my teacher, Shizuko Oshiro. Okinawans are very humble, simple, kind, and have a big heart. We had more than enough share of darkness in our history, but we learned empathy, and most importantly, Nuchiru Takara. And Okinawan words, that means life is the treasure. We always prevail, no matter what. We fight back with bare hand, feet, and heart. Those contrasts in the history and people's resilient heart give depth to Okinawan textile colors. Thank you. That's my mother in the center, and then aunts, and then the baby is not me, it's my sister. But in Okinawa, they said female has a power, special power. So they are my living guardian angels.
So Jashiki-san, I want to continue with you to talk a little bit more about textiles. So these days, are these textiles like bingata and bashofu and kusuri that you discussed, are they still handmade, or are there machines that are mass producing these textiles?
Yes, those Okinawan crafts, those woven textile, also the bingata, they are not mass producible. So they still using that by hand, using hand, and then very old-fashioned way. There are many steps, but that's never changed from long time ago.
Right.
Yes, that makes the value quite high.
Right.
So it's really precious.
It makes it very special. Yeah. But are there young people who are interested in these crafts? Because we hear a lot about mainland Japan, like there are, all the kimono makers are dying out, and certain crafts are going by the wayside because there aren't any younger people who want to carry on the traditions. What's the atmosphere like in Okinawa?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's the bingata, and yes, there's some younger generation interested in doing some bingata, and then they learn the techniques, and then, but interestingly, they try to make something different out of it. So
You mean more modern kind of thing?
Just using the techniques and they produce something more like a modern,
Okay.
the products. So they try some more like a accessible daily products and then so that's kind of interesting because old-fashioned way, it's very hard to make living. Although there's a big tourism in Okinawa, so that many bingata houses tourism-related products. But that's not enough. The younger people want to do something more.
Yeah.
So they try to be innovative. So try to do something different. So in terms of the designs, also shape, how they can use the fabric to the products and those things. They kind of like exploring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. But they still keep that element of the traditional.
That's right,
That's
yes.
good. So, Shou Sensei, I want to ask you. You mentioned in your talk that Japanese food, Okinawan food, is pretty readily available in the States, especially in larger cities like New York. We have a lot of Japanese and Asian markets where we can find Goya. But what was it like when you went to East Lansing, Michigan in 1952? Did they even know what Goya was? Or
No. When I went to Michigan in 1952, in the food and nutrition class, I was asked to introduce some more Japanese or Okinawan food, and I talked about tofu. Nobody knew tofu. So I couldn't say, of course, the word tofu. I said soybean curd.
curd is such a lovely word.
Yes, I thought, I really thought about, how I should introduce.
Right.
But the tofu is, the soybean protein part is coagulated. That's why I thought soybean curd. I said, soybean curd? How do you make it? I said, it soaks in soybean in water and so on. So I said, oh no. Soybean, those days in United States, you take oil, and after that would be feed, give the pigs or cats or whatever.
So people in Michigan thought you were referring to
or
feed.
something, feed.
Something that you would give the
eating.
livestock instead of something
right
that
after
humans.
Yes.
And now tofu is all over the place and considered healthy. Yeah.
Yes, and many years after, I went to Michigan to teach, as a visiting professor. And in the same laboratory, we had a very young couple, and both of them said, Dr. Shou, we eat tofu every morning. I said, oh my goodness, you like tofu? I said, how do you eat? I asked. And she said, very easy, just you wash and keep in the refrigerator, and next morning cut into two because they were both husband and wife. Put on the dish, and on tofu, I said, oh yes, I know. You put bonito flakes on tofu because we, use in Japan bonito flakes and some soy sauce. I said, oh no bonito flakes. We don't have it. You know what?
What did they put on top of it?
Top on it, they jam. Jam. And she said, we have a weak varieties. Today, maybe the marmalade, on tofu, and next day maybe strawberry or you can change, topping and enjoy it. That's why after that, I told them,
I don't know.
jam on tofu. I made a nickname, After that, jam on tofu.
But you thought that was charming, though.
Yes.
Okay.
No, surprising, not
Yeah, well,
charming.
yeah.
But I was very surprised. I almost fainted.
Well, sometimes you have to adapt the flavor to suit the Western palate, right?
And, years after, the professor from University of the Ryukyu, went to the World Conference, and he met someone there. And this doctor from Michigan said, "Are you from University of the Ryukyu, Okinawa?" He said, "Yes." So tell her, "Do you know Hiroko Shou?" "Yes, I know," he said. So tell her that you met Jamon Tofu. Long after, So Jamon Tofu is a very nice,
Yeah, I don't think I'd try that, but...
Don't you try? No?
Is it the same thing as like adding, different toppings to natto to make it palatable? Because I don't like natto, so...
Now,
Yeah.
maybe 20 more years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
So, Kadekaru-san, I know that karate is one of your initiatives, to attract tourism in hand with karate. But how do you get people to go to Okinawa and endure that 16-hour trip for karate? What is behind it?
The tourism industry is our main industry in Okinawa.
Right.
So I mentioned earlier, so far about around 7 million tourists we welcome each year. But 80% of the tourists come from the mainland Japan. So, but the population has been decreasing in Japan.
Right.
In this case, the market, domestic market will be shrinking. So now we try to how to attract the tourists from outside Okinawa, outside Japan. So in this case, we have to think about what kind of, how can I say, possibility to attract those people. In this case, usually the beautiful beach, beautiful coral reef is one of the main factor resources to attract the people. Especially mainly the mainland from Japan. But the karate, as mentioned earlier, over 180 countries, the population karate practitioners are around 10,000, 100 million.
Million.
So I think the karate is, how can I say, the possibility to attract those people because karate, Okinawa is a vast place of karate.
Right.
So we have to, now we think about, but still, this fact is not prevail all over the world. So now we try to make awareness about this one.
So you don't think that people who watch Karate Kid know that Okinawa is the birthplace of karate?
No, not. So that's why this weekend, our professional come to the New York and promotion actually.
So in that sense, you're not looking for a typical tourist. You're looking for someone who is serious about deepening their karate practice. And
that's right.
so it's not just come to Okinawa for a few days to enjoy our long summer. It's
because usually, the average staying days in Okinawa is 3 to 4 days.
3 or 4 days.
Too short.
Okay.
Too short. But karate is different. Just 3 to 4 days training is not enough. So those people staying longer, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, of course they are paying much money for the meal or the hotel, something like that.
Staying in hotels.
Those people contributed to the development of Okinawan economy.
Right.
So we can say high value of this kind of people.
So that's an interesting. You're getting creative with the whole concept of tourism. So you're making it kind of like an extended stay in a sense.
Of course, we have also culture and another people's hospitality. We have another sources, but karate is big factor.
And also, next Olympic held in Japan.
Yes.
The many Okinawans people, they're hoping to accept karate would be one added to the next Olympic.
Oh, so you're petitioning for that to be okay.
But my understanding is that karate is two different the sports. Sports are right, but Okinawa karate is how can I say? Traditional karate is kind of spiritual
Right.
Not only the physical, but also the mindset also. Means the whole life. We continue to the training whole life.
Right.
The sports card is the 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do, right? So
I
in
would
the-
guess so. I mean, I can't do it now.
In this case, now in the Okinawa traditional karate, 50 years old, still young.
I was going to say that's a youngster.
60, 70, so
Well,
I'm
I'm
not sure.
83.
Yeah. Yeah.
83 years old. Yes.
From sea vegetables, right?
Yeah.
Please eat sea vegetables.
But no jam tofu. So, Jashiki-san, I know that you've been living in New York since 1983, right? So,
Yes,
but
that's
you
right, that's correct,
You
yes.
travel back and forth. But how do you? I mean, you do a lot of contemporary works. We saw some of your samples. But how do you keep true to your training as a weaver? Do you always feel like you have that Okinawan spirit, Okinawan mindset?
Yes. My background is actually woven fabric, I mean, weaving.
Yes.
And then my teacher was a weaving teacher. And then in the Okinawan textile, you see only bright side, but the woven fabrics, traditional woven textile, there's some sophistication there. You don't really see it because it's so quiet. And I like that side of it too.
Yeah.
So that's my close to my my original artistic talent, and so I kind of take that, the Okinawan textile sophistication,
Yes.
and then I use that. I think actually in me, I don't use the patterns or colors, but it naturally comes out when I design something.
Yeah.
It's quite, people say quite exotic, but at the same time very sophisticated. Something you never seen it. So I think that it's in me. It's just it's inside of craft people, the spirits, as well as their techniques and skills and the colors. That's what I think. Yeah.
But do people who study one kind of textile work, do they cross over to, like, if I were a bingata dyer, would I also make bashofu or kusuri or whatever the other ones are?
It's
And there's a lot of them, right?
Yes, it's very unlikely. Because those two different crafts are so different. Each craft has very complicated process, and so learn two different crafts and combine it. That's a lot of years of training, and then it's very unusual thing to do. But there's some collaboration is happened though in these days in Okinawa, and then there are two people making the one product, and one is weaver, one is like a bingata artist. So they collaborate. One woven the fabric, following Okinawa textile weaving techniques, and then one using the bingata techniques, and this makes beautiful products.
Yeah. But they're very different looks, though. Like you mentioned, bingata is so bright and colorful, whereas bashofu is very earth tone, and
Yes.
I mean, you can
Yes.
see the fibers of it.
Yes. But that, if you are artist, you have to meet half place, half meeting place, Maybe it doesn't have to be too bright. Maybe it could be a little bit subtler,
Yeah.
to put on the Okinawan woven textile. That's so also even same other way around is possible too. You can make the bright check using Okinawa woven techniques, and then put the simple, just one color bingata on the top of it. That works too,
Yeah. Okay. So Kadekaru-san, how do you bring in food culture combine food culture with your tourism, with attracting people to the country to try to the prefecture to try.
As I mentioned in my speech, Okinawa was independent. We had our own dynasty,
Right.
Ryukyu Kingdom.
Yes.
So now it's possible to how can I say, again to this food culture, food at the court food. At that time,
when it was
during the Kingdom, right?
And they
serve
entertained envoys from China.
So again, they serve this kind of the food, the court food, the available the restaurant, some special restaurant. It's very good the factor to attract the tourists. This kind of we think about.
So is it this is a new thing that started?
New thing, right?
Because we actually saw it on Anthony Bourdain talked about that. He was served he did a program about Okinawa, and he was served a dish that was traditionally served to envoys from China. So a new angle on.
Right.
So what is in a court dinner?
But in this case, how to collect this kind of information at the time? So far, not so enough information to the correct information. How to reconstruct the meal is very important, very challenging things. I think.
You know, the Okinawan food would be classified into two. One is what he said, that the traditional, the kingdom food. And one is just everyday, our food, everyday food.
What normal people eat.
Well.
Or the regular class of people.
Yeah. And this traditional food, we have a special restaurant or place to eat, and they really make a traditional according to what, older people,
Right, so that would be for special occasions or when you're entertaining people coming to visit.
Local people entertaining also, the serving this is Okinawa traditional food, local food is also.
Right.
There are many very good restaurants who serve real good traditional food.
That's good. Okay, that's great. I think let's check the time here. I think we have a few minutes to open up the floor for questions. We have a microphone running around, so please wait for the microphone to get to you because this is being recorded. So, we want to be able to hear your question, and also we want to be able to hear your question up here too. So anyone have a question for any of the panelists? Or are you just ready to eat? Down here up front? I'm all for moving this along to get to the meal.
Thank you. It's a question about food and sort of the tension that I know we have here between sort of fast food and then also getting back to sort of natural and local food. And so, of course, we see this played out all the time. So I know that in Okinawa, the Western fast food movement has been very strong, and many of the younger generations, I guess the last two generations perhaps, have really changed their diet.
Yes.
And they've moved away very, very quickly from the traditional foods that you've described, or at least the way of eating and eating together, and your bowl of tofu and your and seaweed. So I wondered. Sea vegetables. But I love seaweed, so it's fine. Yeah. So, my question is really about how the movement and what is happening in Okinawa now. Is there a similar local locavore movement, meaning people are now rediscovering these ways of eating and the foods that are available, and trying to counter the fast food, fatty foods that have, in a way, taken over the island?
Yeah, it is true. As you, can I?
Yes, it's for you.
You mentioned, about maybe 30 or 40 years ago, we had a very traditional food. Even at home, myself, I don't, make a very fast food. I just take, time for cooking all the food type. But nowadays, younger people, they go out and take out food, ready-to-eat food, and convenience store food, and something like that. So easy to eat is, I think, it's very common. And we have in Okinawa almost every month we have some type of festival. In those days, the older people make traditional food,
Right.
but the younger people, they
Everyone's too
don't.
busy.
I think I shouldn't say younger people, but many, yes, people are not making a traditional food for everyday food. Yes.
But as he asked, are you seeing that people are starting to realize that the fast food probably isn't the best way, and let's do local foods and slow it down a little bit, or?
Yes, I think so, because Okinawa has been, as far as longevity was concerned, way long time, the first in world, top in the world. But now it's going down, and especially men, 33, I think. For women, third.
Yeah, women are still the third
Women,
longest living.
still living
Okinawa
long.
women are the third longest living. But
Men
the
is going down.
Okay,
Yeah.
women are very vigorous.
Right.
But also men, though, because they smoke and they drink. And then those younger...
Women smoke and drink too, I'm sure. Okinawan
Yes, and the
women.
younger kids, they buy those convenience store ready-made
That's so
foods.
good, though.
Yeah,
Convenient
they are the old party foods they are selling, and Lawson's Family Mart and stuff. So,
Yeah. But Okinawa still has the most centenarians in the world.
Yes,
Yeah, there are still more people over 100. who
over
live in-
100.
Yeah.
Thanks to the female.
Yes, because of the women. Anyone else with a question? You right there on the end?
In the United States, we're usually taught that pork, being such a high fatty meat, is not advantageous to the diet. But in your presentation, you say that pork is an extremely important component of the of maintaining longevity. If you could possibly explain to me how that is achieved. Thank you.
Well,
The method of cooking, right, is what?
And as I explained, we remove all this the fat, by cooking, and also when we buy, only try to buy the what you call the meat, the part.
The best.
Not the large part is
Oh, yeah,
already.
so you cut the fat already.
Yes.
Although there is fat in rafute, which is one of the dishes that we're all going to enjoy tonight, but the making of rafute takes hours and hours.
Yes.
They boil and they probably like 4 hours worth of boiling, and that gets
also,
rid of that fatty.
cook in awamori. That makes awamori is the Okinawan local alcohol.
Made of Thai rice.
Supposed to be.
Yeah. I guess it's like whiskey. Well, and
distilled.
It's
Distilled.
distilled. It's not like sake,
Distilled
which is brewed.
from rice. Yeah.
And we'll also have a little bit of that mixed in a cocktail. So, okay. Any other questions? I think we had time for one more. Right there in the front with the white shirt.
I guess this.
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. I guess this is more for Susan and Mr. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. Jashiki. For most Americans, I feel like Japanese food is confined to what you find at the typical American Japanese restaurant, like rolls and lunch specials and right. And so I'm asking the two of you. You obviously live in New York, and you come from this background. This is a little selfish, but where can you find these type of Okinawan dishes? Like where is this
You're
food available?
looking for something authentic? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for a lot of these dishes, I feel like most of us, don't really encounter.
Have the opportunity.
Yeah,
to,
exactly. So we live in New York, so a lot of us here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, where do you get this food? Like, what kind of dishes do people
Oh yeah,
make while here?
Jashiki makes his own goya champuru, so we
That's
can just
right.
go to his place and
So-
hang out with him,
So
and he can
I
weave
have to
us
say,
something.
why don't you make it? Because the produce are available here. The goya, the in Indian name, it's called Karela. It's, if you go to Indian market,
Right.
you can buy the bitter melon called Karela. That's their name. And then all kind of Okinawan produce available here. And if you know how to cook it, it's easy to cook it. Because if you ask about restaurant, if there's a restaurant serve those kind of food, no. Because there used to be some Okinawan the food restaurant, maybe a couple of them.
Suibi in Midtown, but it
They
closed years
served
ago.
it, but they're long gone. So after that, there's no restaurant or specialized Okinawan food. So, but again, it's easy to cook. So I suggest many people try to cook Okinawan food.
Yeah. I wouldn't say easy. Goju champuru is easy to make. Rafute, you got to plan that.
Yeah.
Like you can't just come home from work and say, "Hey, I think I'm going to cook up some rafute," and then you spend the next 8 hours, doing it. So,
And
but yeah.
Mozuku.
Mozuku. Is
Very
that?
easy.
Yeah,
Just
it's
wash
here. I've seen it here, like in New York.
And you use vinegar and soy sauce. You
Yeah.
can eat. You don't have to cook. Just wash.
But as far as Okinawan dishes, I think the closest you can get in a restaurant, the closest you can get to rafute would be like a buta kakuni, and there are lots of izakaya that serve that. Just Google izakaya in New York, and you'll pretty much, they're all good.
But the rafute, like Tamisho said, it's you have to use Okinawan liquor called awamori. That really makes a difference too. So, but you can get awamori here too.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you can.
everything is here. Yeah.
You just have to, like Umi no Ie sells it. A restaurant in the East Village, they have awamori there. I don't know if they would sell you the bottle. All right, so maybe one more question. Maybe we can do one more question. Or we could just eat. You want to just eat? Okay, we're going to eat. All right, but let me tell you one thing about, she just gave me the it's time to eat sign, so I'm sorry. But you know what? You can tackle them at the reception upstairs, and they're available to chat and stuff. But one thing I want to mention about the meal, it's served in a bento box that is yours to keep. So you have two presents from tonight. You have the bingata and you have a bento box. So thank you everyone for coming out.